el lugar de esto, del control remoto es the hand of the Father, right? La mano. No, I'm just kidding. Right? So, but I want to be able to find it. So, at times we have in our house, algunas veces en nuestra casa, we have had 2 remote controls. Hemos tenido 2 controles remotos. And what I do, I hide mine. Yo escondo el mío, right? And they can use theirs. Ellos pueden encontrar eso. But the problem is, inevitably, it gets lost, right? Inevitablemente se pierde. Because they don't know where they're putting it. Porque no saben dónde lo están poniendo. So eventually, they go after mine. Buscan el mío. So we got into one of these arguments. I couldn't find my remote control. No podía encontrar mi control remoto. So I'm going around the house, right? I'm talking to the kids. Where you put the remote control? Where is it? This is a life or death situation, right? Alguien puede morir en este momento. ¿Dónde está el control remoto? Right? And we moved from the kids, de los niños, and now I'm talking to my wife, right? Estoy hablando con mi esposa. And we're talking about, we have moved from the remote control to the way that you're raising these kids, right? Como te estás criando a estos hijos que no respetan a su padre, that don't respect their father. All of a sudden we're talking about, we have gone well beyond the scope of our remote control. Hemos ido mucho más allá afuera de un control remoto. And then all of a sudden, right, de repente, me doy de cuenta de algo, I realize something, which is in my house, if I want something to be safe, si yo quiero algo que es mío personal, if I have something that's personal of mine, I wanted to keep it safe, I put it as high as possible, lo más alto posible, right? And there is no doubt that anybody else is going to find it, right? Nadie más lo va a encontrar. So I put it high, lo pongo alto. So we had in our kitchen, we have a place where we put the food. That is called the pantry. Thank you. You put it in the pantry, I put it way high. So it was like 9 foot tall. Era como 9 pies de alto. So I would reach out, put the remote control there. So I'm in the kitchen, estoy en la cocina, and I'm talking to my wife, and I'm telling you, this has gone well beyond the remote control. Now we are challenging each other's authority. Estamos retando. We are, and I mean, it's not even, we don't even know when we started. No sabemos ni por qué comenzamos. And all of a sudden, I look up to the top of the pantry, right, and I think I was rolling my eyes when I did that. I was going like, oh. I roll my eyes, right? Miro para la parte de arriba y veo el control remoto. I see the remote control there. In the one place that nobody else can reach but me. En el único lugar que nadie puede alcanzar pero yo. And the remote control is looking at me. El control remoto me está mirando, está haciendo así. Shh. Right? The remote control is going like, shh, be quiet. Stop. Stop. You're wrong, right? So at that point in time, I have a decision to make. Tengo una decisión que hacer. Right? I have basically 3 options. Básicamente tengo 3 opciones. Either I admit that I was wrong all along, o admito que estoy en lo incorrecto. Right? That's one option available to me. Hay una opción disponible para mí. Right? But that would mean, remember, this conversation went well beyond the remote control. Right? Now we're talking about a whole different scenario. And now I have to rewind all of that. Right? Tengo que arrepentirme de todo lo demás que habíamos hablado y no tiene que ver nada absolutamente con el control remoto ya. Right? Or I could pretend that I didn't see the remote control. Puedo pretenderle que no vi el control remoto. And I could just walk away in a huff. I was like, enough of this, I'm done. Right? Me voy, olvídate. Right? Or I could stop. I could make up something else in which I can be angry about. And at that time, just continue the conversation even though I know I'm wrong. Puedo continuar peleando aunque sé que estoy incorrecto. I wish that I could stand before you. Me gustaría estar de frente de ustedes y poder decirle, I humble myself. Yo me humillé a mí mismo. Eso es lo que me gustaría poder decir. That's what I would like to say. But if I'm honest with you, si soy honesto contigo, I took number 2. I took door number 2. And I did something like, enough of this, I'm done. I'm going to my room. Se acabó esto, me voy para mi cuarto. No quiero hablar más de esto. Right? But of course, my wife eventually found out the remote control was there all the time. I had to apologize. But much later. At a much later time. mucho después. And then you wonder about the situations. Tú piensas acerca de esas situaciones. And we tend to think, hey, you know, how wrong it is to be fighting. Cuán malo es estar peleando. We say things like, no quiero que los nenos vean peleando. We don't want the kids knowing that we're fighting. We don't want, we say things like, los vecinos pelean todo el tiempo. The neighbors fight all the time. And we think of that as being something wrong or bad. Vemos eso como algo que está incorrecto, que está malo. But we have to have a proper perspective of it. Tenemos que tener una visión propia de eso. And what we mean by that, lo que queremos decir con eso is that, I mean, just think about your marriage. Piensa acerca de tu matrimonio. You have grown up in the same street. Tú puedes haberte criado en la misma calle, las dos casas una al lado de la otra, with houses that are right next to each other, but your cultures in that house, tu cultura en esa casa, are going to be completely different one from the other. Van a ser completamente diferentes uno de la otra. I mean, just think about when you were growing up. I mean, I don't know if you lived in a house for a long time. No sé si usted vivió en una casa por mucho tiempo. But for example, my house, we have had, in the house I grew up in Puerto Rico, en la casa donde yo me crié en Puerto Rico, we have had the same neighbors for like 25 years. Hemos tenido los mismos vecinos por 25 años. That house is weird, right? Esa casa extraña. They have chickens and they have conejo, right? They have rabbits. They have like miniature rabbits that the father of the house sells, right? Tiene el conejo miniatura que el dueño de la casa vende. And he does all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's just completely different. Es completamente diferente a nosotros. Their values, their views, their religion, everything they do is different to ours. Todo lo que ellos hacen es diferente a nosotros. Even though we're both growing up in Puerto Rico, in Bayamón, right? Los dos criamos en Puerto Rico, en Bayamón, on the same street, en la misma calle, en la misma área de Bayamón, the same area of Bayamón, we are completely different. Somos completamente diferentes. And el problema es that we come into our marriage, venimos a nuestro matrimonio, we barely ever speak about our differences. Apenas hablamos acerca de nuestras diferencias. Actually, if I'm honest with you, si soy honesto contigo, you know when I found out that I had a different perspective in raising my children than my wife in different areas? ¿Sabes cómo yo me di cuenta de que yo tenía una visión diferente de cómo criar mis hijos? When we had children, cuando tuvimos hijos, right? When we had children, they did something bad. Cuando nosotros tuvimos hijos por primera vez y hizo algo malo, and I went to correct them, y yo fui a corregir, we realized, whoa, we have completely different views about this. Tenemos una visión completamente diferente. Right? So we have, even though you might be from the same, now just think about this. For many of you, para muchos de ustedes, your wife might have born in a different country. Right? Quizás su esposo nació en otro país. Right? For me, para mí específicamente, right, my wife grew up in Missouri. Right? Mi esposa se crió en Missouri. Right? Yo me crié en Puerto Rico. I grew up in Puerto Rico. We weren't even speaking the same language. Literally. Right? No hablábamos el mismo lenguaje. Right? So, when we were growing up, nosotros nos estábamos criando. So we are, I mean, completely different cultures. But if I'm honest with you, si soy honesto contigo, I think that has actually been a blessing to us. Eso ha sido una bendición para nosotros. Because we, from day one, desde el primer día, we were willing to accept that we came from different perspectives. Nosotros estábamos dispuestos a aceptarle que veníamos de diferentes perspectivas. And the problem is, most couples never had those conversations. Most people assume that whatever I had in my house is the right way to do it. Or the default way. La mayoría de nosotros aceptamos que la forma en que yo lo hacía es la forma en que la mayoría de las parejas lo hacen o la forma en que debería de ser. So the way your mom raised you, la familia en que tu mamá te crió, it's going to have that perspective, va a tener esa perspectiva. I mean, my mom beat me up. I mean, my mom, I love my mom. Yo amo a mi mamá con todo mi corazón. I am grateful for everything she did. I don't know where I would be. Yo no sé dónde yo estaría. But I said it before. Like, if my mom did what she did in Puerto Rico today here, she will be in jail. Right? I mean, it's just honest. Right? Si mi mamá hiciera lo que hizo en Puerto Rico, aquí en este país, en esta cultura, estuviera en la cárcel. But so we come from different cultures. Venimos de diferentes culturas. So the miracle is not that we fight. El milagro no es que peleamos. The miracle is we don't fight more. El milagro es que no peleamos más. Right? You shouldn't be surprised. I mean, never should there be a goal where we say, hey, my goal is to never fight. Right? Yo nunca voy a pelear. I mean, you might remember last week I talked about an 18-year-old who I talked to him about his expectations in intimacy, right? They're going acerca de su expectativa, acerca de la intimidad, and I was like, you are crazy, right? Tú estás loco. Well, the same thing, if your expectation is like, well, how are you going to handle conflict in your marriage? ¿Cómo vas a manejar conflicto? How are you going to fight? ¿Cómo vas a pelear? And your answer is, we're never going to fight. No vamos a pelear. You are insane. Right? Tú estás loco. Because the reality is you have a different set of values, a different perspective, different assumptions, different default settings. Tú tienes una perspectiva completamente diferente, una forma completamente diferente de ver las cosas. So, por supuesto que van a haber peleas. You take any two human beings, tú pones a dos humanos, dos seres humanos, y los pones en una misma casa, you put them in the same house. I mean, I don't know if you ever had roommates, right? No sé si tuvo roommates en la universidad o algo así. I mean,